It's Beer O'Clock and it's the Beer O'Clock Show. Welcome to another week of beery chatter, news and drunkenness. My name is Mark and joining me is the cheeky chappy himself, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing alright, mate. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Feeling very cheeky tonight as we're recording on a different night, so it feels a bit weird as well. But
just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Tonight we're reviewing the Hibernation White IPA from Bear Hug Brewing. But before we get to that, Stevie, what you been drinking lately, mate?
What have I been drinking? I feel as though I've drunk loads this week, but can't actually put my finger on any of it. I did have a trip to Brewdog in Nottingham, and where I sampled one of the beers from, I think it was last year, they put out a range of beers called IPA is Dead, which were single hopped IPAs, and they had a keg of the IPA is Dead Citra on, which was pretty stunning actually. Everything you'd expect from Citra, done the Brewdog way, so that was quite a nice beer. I also tried the Paradox Heaven Hill, which is one of their barrel-aged imperial stouts, 15%. That was quite tasty as well. And I've had a few other things, a few staples this week. I think there's been a Smog Rocket, there's been a Hells in there. It's been a pretty standard beer drinking week, actually. Sorry, right. Excuse me. I may have had one before tonight's show as well, actually.
You did have a cheeky wetter, you were saying on
I did have Twitter. A cheeky wetter, yes, just to get me in the mood.
It was too late for me to do that when I saw you. Like, I was just getting myself ready. I was just sitting down in the Beer O'Clock Show studios, and I thought, "Fuck it, I should have had a wetter as well." So it was a Friday night. Just to get a bit of context, we're recording on a Friday night this week because we can't record on Monday. So when you hear this next Friday, it'll be last Friday. So we're just a few days early. So we might just be a little bit out of sync in terms of what we're doing tonight. Yeah, but bear with us. It's the usual shit.
But anyway, mate, what have you been drinking?
Sod all really, because we only did the other show about 4 days ago, and I've been meaning to drink during the week because I've had such a crap week at work. I want to drink myself into oblivion, but unfortunately I've not managed it. I've had a Beavertown Smog Rocket and a Camden Hells, much like you, because we've been lining up some other stuff. But oh my god, Smog Rocket! I had it from the bottle, and I've only had it from the can before, but still from the bottle. Fuck me, it's good beer.
I found it almost felt as though I had an extra depth to it from the bottle. The can was good. It was incredible from the can, but it was equally as good, if not better, from the bottle, actually.
I found it slightly cleaner from the bottle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because the flavours on some of the elements have dissipated a little bit in the bottle. But, because obviously in the can, it's super fresh or super whatever, but coming out of the bottle you still get that smoky barbecue aroma. Beer of the year, bar none, every year.
I think you've already made that very clear, mate. I think people know what mine will be as well. I think we should just put some context again, maybe to what we're doing, because obviously we're both drinking the same beers at the moment, and that's because as part of some work that we're doing with Owls by Mal, you can now find, or you'll shortly be able to find, a number of short audio reviews on the Owls by Mal website when you're browsing your beers, and they're brought to you exclusively by the Beer O'Clock Show. 4 hours by now. So you will hear us over the next few weeks commenting about how we're drinking the same beers, and that's purely because we're getting through a backlog of beers as part of this work that we're doing for the guys at House by Mal.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a swapsy. So they're providing us with these beers to do reviews of them. We're getting something to drink now and then, and they're giving us the discount code that we share with you guys. So it's all for you. We're not selling out, honestly.
It is. Yes, we're drinking ourselves silly, all for you, our lovely listeners.
Indeed. Right. Have you got any news for us, mate?
I've got news and I've got chat. What do you want first? Do you
Let's
want
do the chat first.
Let's do the chat first. Okay, so two
Right.
things I want to mention under this week's chat. And this will be a week old by the time this show goes out. But as we record today, today is the anniversary of the London beer flood that happened on the 17th of October in 1814. And this was in the parish of St Giles in London. Now, this is a genuine story, and lives were lost here. So let's just have a moment for the London beer flood. There used to be a brewing company called the Mew and Company Brewing, who were based at Tottenham Court Road, and one of their vats containing over 610,000 litres of beer ruptured,
Wow.
which caused other vats in the same building to do the same in a domino effect, resulting in more than 1,470,000 litres of beer bursting out of the brewery and flooding the streets of London. Now, this is a well-known story. It was recounted in Pete Brown's book, A Man Walks Into a Bar. But as a result of that, I think a number of people lost their lives. But as a result of that, the Holborn Whippet, who are probably now the bar that are based closest to where this happened, now brew a commemorative beer every year. They brew a commemorative porter, which they put on the day of the London beer flood. So that was available in the Holborn Whippet today as we record.
I walked past the Holborn Whippet today.
Yeah, it would have been really useful had we ran this story on the show that was released tonight, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So next year, we'll make sure whether we do the London beer flood thing a week before. So that was a fairly pointless bit of chatter. The other thing was something that happened on Twitter today, which I just feel compelled to mention. Somebody posted a picture of some beers that had been sent to them to review. And these beers were from the Metropolitan Brewing Company. It was a box of 4 beers. Now, upon further inspection, it would appear that the Metropolitan Brewing Company are indeed Green King.
Okay.
And this is a new brand that they've produced exclusively for Tesco's. Now, I've got no issue with Green King doing an exclusive brand for Tesco's. Many other breweries do it. They do it for Sainsbury's. They do it for Morrison's now as well. The issue I've got 2 issues with this is, one is that Green King have already got a craft brand, which they're trying to sneak some of their beers out. So they've created this new craft brand specifically to try and entice Tesco drinkers. The second issue I've got is that one of the beers within the box is called Undercurrent Pale Ale. Now, for those listeners to the show that know their beer, you will know that Siren Craft Brew already have a pale ale called Undercurrent. So, and herein lies my issue. You would have thought that 2 pretty large companies in Green King and Tesco's would know the issues that would come around branding and trademarks. Now, I hope and I pray that Siren take Green King and Tesco's to task over this, because their Undercurrent beer has been around for a while and it is a stunning pale ale. And I wouldn't want people to buy this. I'm going to call it shit. I can't say that I've drunk it, but I wouldn't.
It's Green King, come on.
It's Green King. It's lifeless branding. I've just got a real issue with what they've done, because that beer already exists. Why? And Green King would know that. So why call your beer something that already exists, that's being produced by a craft brewer that actually understands what brewing craft beer means, as opposed to churning out this soulless shit that they've put out?
I take it that... What's the brewery that does the real Undercurrent? Did you say?
Siren.
I take it that their beers aren't readily available in Tesco's.
Their beers aren't readily available in Tesco, no. You can buy them in all good bottle shops, and you can buy them in a lot of on-tail retailers, online retailers, including Owls by Mouth. But the Undercurrent is a very, very well-known pale ale brand by Siren Craft Brew.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me, is that the unknowing drinker going into Tesco may see that and think, oh, undercurrent pale ale, I'll have one of those,
Yeah.
and they'll take it home, and basically all they're drinking is a watered down version of Green King IPA.
Well, it goes back to that issue in the last few months with that brewery doing a Hell's Lager.
Yes.
Say what you want about Camden. I know they have their detractors, but it comes down to confusing the punters. You got someone, like you say, who doesn't necessarily know. They just know that Hell's Lager is supposed to be a good beer, or that Undercurrent is supposed to be a good beer. They go somewhere, they see it, they buy it, and it's not what they're expecting to get. So there should really be some clarity on this. There should be some more clever thinking about it. I mean, it could be that people from Green King are so completely out of touch they have no idea that there's a beer called Undercurrent. Or,
I really doubt that. I honestly don't see that as being an argument. Again, I think they've done it on purpose.
Well, up yours, Green King.
Yeah. Damn you. Sorry, I do feel as though I went on a bit of a rant there, but this really
right.
got me riled earlier on today.
We haven't had a Green King rant from you in ages.
Yeah, I know. I've managed to restrain myself, but seriously, you know what, Siren? Good luck if you decide to take them to task over this, because I hope with all the money that's gone into producing this packaging and brand that they have to go away and repackage it and rebrand it and spend the money again.
Yeah.
For being so damn up themselves.
Any other chatter?
No, we can go into the news now, mate.
All right. Beep 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 beep.
News. Okay. So first up, and this was a story that was on the BBC News website about a week ago. Thirst for US craft beers boosts demand for British hops. Apparently, the US, as many people have predicted, are moving away from their current style of brewing, and they are now beginning to brew more English-style beers, which means they are now desperate for British hops. So basically, the British hop growing industry is growing. In 2009, they sold 365 tons of hops. Last year, they sold 600 tons of hops, and almost half of that entire crop is now being bought by the US. So US breweries are now moving more towards creating English beers. It will be interesting to see what those breweries, the likes of Stone and maybe Sierra Nevada and some of the other big boys from over there, it will be interesting to see what they do with English hops and how they use them and how they make their beers taste. Hopefully not overly earthy and twiggy like so many English breweries manage to achieve without too much effort. And the next two news stories are both about new releases. So let's go with Adnams first. They've got a new Jack brand beer out called the 1659 Smoked Ruby Beer, and this is to commemorate the Great Fire of Southwold in 1659, which was 7 years before the Great Fire of London and about 200 years before the London beer flood. So they've made this commemorative smoked ruby beer using special cherrywood smoked malt. A mixture of malts as well. In addition to cherry smoked, you've got black Cara, Munich, pale ale malts, and it's hopped with English sovereign hops. Should give flavours of raisin, smoke, and dates with a coffee finish and smoky aromas. It's now available in cask in selected outlets. It's part of the current JD Wetherspoons Beer Festival. You can buy it in bottles online or bottles in Adnams stores. So if you want more information about that, adnams.co.uk. And then the final piece of news this week, it's the regular Brewdog news segment. They've released a new beer as well called Pumpkinhead, 5.1% Halloween beer. It's not your usual cloyingly sweet Halloween pumpkin ale, apparently. There's loads of pungent spices on the nose, followed with bright and zesty citrus flavours like toasted marshmallows and toffee apple. So that's Pumpkinhead, released into Brewdog bars last week, available in bottles, again online or from bottle shops, brewdog.co.uk or brewdog.com. You'd think I'd know that, the amount of times we've featured them in the news. And so ends this week's news.
And I think that Brewdog beer went live in all bars across the country tonight.
It did, yes. As we review it, it went live at 6 p.m. tonight in all of their bars.
Yeah. So technically a week ago, as you hear this. Yeah, Steve was right.
I'm sure it's still available.
I saw. I think Justin Mason was ranting about that Ednams beer. Not ranting.
Yes, he was.
He was raving about it.
Yeah, apparently it's a very, very good beer.
I didn't know anything about it when I saw him talk about it. I thought, I gotta get myself some of that.
I was quite surprised to get the release, actually, because I thought it was only part of the Wetherspoons Festival. I didn't realise they were putting it in bottles as well, under the Jack Brand heading. So I'm looking forward to giving that a go, actually. That'd be a nice beer to have in the winter and over Christmas, I think.
Along with Smug Rocket, yeah.
Of course, mate. And probably a Halcyon as well.
I don't know about that. Anyway, let's get on to this week's featured beer, which is, as I said at the top of the show, Hibernation IPA from Bear Hug Brewing, who are based in, he said, London. Well, that's where the registered office.
Interesting, actually. You'll hear this in the interview at the end with Matt Williams, who's one of the owners of Bear Hug Brewing. They're based in London, but they're hobo brewers, which means basically they don't have their own brewery. They brew their stuff on other people's kit. And I think Matt was saying currently they're brewing at I've forgotten the name now. Is it Gads in Ramsgate?
Right.
Or somewhere down that way that they're currently brewing at. It's all in the interview at the end of the show. Don't listen to me. Listen to the interview because all the proper details in there.
Okay, so this is a 5.2% ABV, white IPA. Steve's opening his bottle, so I'm going to as well. Let's get into it.
Let's give this a pour. I'm intrigued by the style. I don't think I've ever drunk a white IPA. I think it refers mainly to a white IPA. IPA is more of a Belgian style IPA, so it's more of a wit beer style.
I'm not getting much yeast on the nose, but let's pour it out. Oh yeah, it is pouring out very pale. That's for sure.
It is, yeah. It's exceptionally pale. Big white frothy head on that as well.
Yep. Nice medium carbonation, lovely pale straw colour on that. Oh, I'm getting a slightly wet dog smell off the head. Any dog lovers will know what I mean. It's not necessarily a bad smell.
So, possibly not what they were aiming for. I'm sure they didn't want the masses of craft wankers going, oh yes, aromas of wet dog.
Not a thoroughly drenched dog, but you know when your dog goes outside and it's been raining and they come in and it's a little bit wet, that lovely sweet wet smell that's coming off the top of their... If you got a golden retriever, you'll know what I mean when they get a little bit damp. Not in a bad way. That's the first thing I thought of, wet dog.
I'm probably getting more of almost an earthy small.
Maybe that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, maybe like wet grass. That maybe a dog's been running through. This is why recording on a Friday night doesn't work because we've probably already had a couple of beers by the time we've got to this one, whereas on a Monday we're fresh.
And we've had such a long week. Anyway,
yeah, shall we just get stuck into this?
Let's get past the wet dog and let's get in.
Let's put the wet dog to one side and enjoy the beer.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. it's got a very dry finish to it. Fairly distinctive flavours going on in there as well. Not a lot of the wheat beer coming through for me. It's got more of a feel of a pale ale than it has a wheat beer or an IPA.
Yeah, so you're getting, like you say, that dryness, but I'm getting earthy undertones. Not as much as you would get in an English bitter, but yeah. Oh, it is very dry. Almost like a chalkiness. And the mouthfeel afterwards.
Okay, so it's all the hops are they're all American hops. So
do they say what hops they are?
Target, Chinook, and Citra.
Okay. I'm not getting any Citra from it.
I was going to say, I've got to be honest, I'm getting none of the Citra from that. The Citra was used in the dry hopping, so that would have been used at the end, which would you would kind of think that would be the one that shone through.
Yeah.
If it was used at the end.
Okay. And otherwise, Chinook and Target look like they're pretty much balanced as far as load put in. But I have to admit, I'm not too au fait with Chinook. I've had Chinook-based beers before, but I can't remember what kind of taste profile. And I don't think I've ever had a beer with Target in before.
No, I'm not sure I have actually. I'm trying to kind of rack my brains as I'm sat here right now trying to work out if I've ever had. I couldn't even tell. I've said they're all American hops, but I'm not sure about the Target one actually. I'm just trying to work out where I can. No, Target is an English hop, so which is bred from Kent Goldings. So that would probably explain why it's got that hint of earthiness, wet, grassy feel to it, because that's definitely coming through there as probably favoured hop over the other two.
Okay, yeah, I just did a Google for it because it's worth a Google. It's a cousin to Challenger, but they have different characteristics. Nominally a bittering hop, but it's herbal, hay-like aroma. Make it a great late kettle addition.
See now I can get that from the aroma.
Yeah. There
is a slight herbalness to it. There's still that earthiness in there. I'm a little bit disappointed that the other hops aren't coming through.
To be honest, I think if that Citra was standing up a little bit stronger, it would balance against the earthiness that the Target is bringing.
Yeah, I mean, they've even put so they've used 12.5% Target, 13.9% Chinook, and then 12.7% Citra in the dry hop. I would have, like I say, I suppose it's the hop head in me that's coming through here, but I would have wanted that Citra to have shone through much more than it is.
Yeah, I think that's more the alpha acid content that they put in rather than quantity. He says, looking at the word alpha acid content on the Beer Legends website.
Well, that makes me look like an absolute noob then, doesn't it, there?
I'm the one admitting to reading up on it.
And the apprentice becomes the master.
Well, I was doing the math.
Heard it here first, folks. Episode 85. I was doing the math.
12 plus 13 plus 12 doesn't make 100%, so where's all the other hops? But that's not how it works out.
No, well, there isn't, but then there's other ingredients above it. Oh, yeah. But that makes... Okay, so we're currently up to about 270%. Yeah, I didn't pass maths at school, clearly. But...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the pininess from the Chinook. I'm just getting... That Target is really strong in this. I'm not a particular fan now of the Target because I think it brings far too much of a grassrooty, herbal, earthy aroma to it, and I think the finish on this is a bit too chalky dry, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, I do get that actually. I mean, I've been giving it a really good sniff while you were talking there, and if you sniff really hard, you get hints of the Chinook and the Citra. It's there, but it's so subtle and it's so in the background that it's almost lost. And as I say, and I do think it's the hophead in me. I would have liked to have seen them playing a much more prominent role in this beer.
Yeah, because that Citra, it can bring to it what you're looking for in an IPA, which is that refreshing profile, that lovely sweetness to it. But what I'm being left with now is a dry mouth without anything really to provide evidence as why I should be having a dry mouth. I'm getting nothing but a chalky mouth from this. It's a little bit disappointing.
It's almost, and this, I agree with everything you said there. It's almost like this beer is making me thirsty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I need a drink after this beer.
Yeah, I shouldn't be being made thirsty by a beer. That thirst should be being quenched. I don't know. I don't know whether it's the hybrid of the wheat beer IPA hasn't worked. I don't know whether it's the ingredients aren't balanced well enough, but I think there's possibly some work to do with this beer.
Yeah, if we had the wheat beer yeastiness coming through, I think it might have had a little flavour or character to it. But like you say, not experiencing that side of it at all.
The wheat characteristics might soften the wet dog.
Maybe it doesn't taste like wet dog. And
I would, you know what? I'd be frankly worried if you knew what wet dog tasted like.
Have you never kissed a wet dog? You haven't lived unless you've kissed a wet dog.
I've never kissed a dog. Oh, wet
dude,
one.
You've not lived.
Welcome to the Dog O'Clock Show.
Welcome to the Dogging O'Clock Show. There's a market we have to tap.
Easy.
I'm quite pleased that the aroma has shifted from wet dog to just something not necessarily very interesting.
It's what it feels like, and it's going along with the wet dog theme. It's like somebody's got all the fantastic characteristics of Chinook and Citra, and they've put them into a wet hole in the floor, and then they've covered them with wet leaves, and they've pushed it down, and those flavours are trying to break through, but they just can't get past that wet, earthy smell, which is a shame, because I think the underlying characteristics of this beer are very, very good, and I think it could be very, very enjoyable. It just needs to be that the balance just needs to be a little bit better, I think, for me.
Yeah, I think if that Citra played more of a part in this, it would save the beer for me.
Oh, absolutely. And the Citra would finish that perfectly.
You know, I'm not a huge IPA fan, but the Citra is such... It saves so many beers when it's hopped well, and you get those flavours coming through, because it is such... It's a solid, dependable flavour, and if it was a little bit more... If I could get any of it from this, I think, I wouldn't mind this beer, but I would not drink this beer again. Which is a shame, because, I had such high hopes for a white IPA.
Yeah, same here. And Bear Hug do that. They've got a very small range of core beers as well, which Matt talks about in the interview at the end. This is just one of them. But personally, I do just think it needs a little bit of refining. I think they can balance the flavours out a little bit more, maybe bring a little bit more of that wheat characteristic through. I think that might just work in balancing this beer.
That dryness might be a really good characteristic to have if they get the other flavours sorted. A lot of people like really dry finishes on their drinks.
Well, normally the dry finish makes you go back in for more, doesn't it? If you think
Yeah.
back to when we did Kipling on the lock-in, that had a really dry finish to it.
Mm-hmm.
But we were going back in time and time again, and so many times on the show we've spoke about beers that have got a dry finish, and that dry finish actually makes you want to drink more of it. This one, it's a dry finish, but as I say, it's making me thirsty, and it's making me want to find another beer that will quench my thirst because of this beer.
Yeah. I've got a really chalky mouth. Anyway, so do you have any more final thoughts? I think we may have summed our thoughts up on this one.
I do, and I can't help but feel that we've done it a bit of a disservice. And I would say to people, despite what we think about it, it might not be for us, but give it a go. Give it a try. It might just be that this is it could be that there's a single problem with this batch of the beer that we're trying. That the flavours are all there. They just need to be tinkered with a little bit. But certainly give the Bear Hug guys a go. If for nothing else than the Green Squares initiative as well, which is something that Matt talks about again in the interview. That's all about owning your own little piece of the rainforest. So they're trying to do a bit for their bit for the environment as well, which I think is a great thing because they're giving something back. But beer-wise, I might give this a go if I saw it on keg, maybe to see if it worked any better. But yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment, to be honest.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Prize, mate. While you neck the last of your hibernation.
It's been a tough one this week, and I think it's because obviously we've gone early with the prize this week, and I don't think we've hit the weekend peak of people really finding their creativity. So I'm going to go with a new entrant into the prize competition this week, and the reason why I'm going for this is twofold. One, because it features a bottle of my favourite beer ever, and two, because it proves that the guy actually listens to the shows that we do. It's a picture of Halcyon and Wild Raven that have been blended in the same glass by Philip J. Kelly, who I know Phil's a regular listener to the show. Philip, you are on your first attempt our prizeless prize winner. Congratulations, my friend.
Well done, Phil.
And that's already up on our Instagram feed, and it will be in the show notes if you want to have a look back at it. But and keep the pictures coming into Instagram using the hashtag Cheers Guys, and you might be in with a chance of winning your very own prizeless prize.
Yeah, and you can find us on Instagram at Beer O'Clock Show, on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show. The website is beeroclockshow.co.uk. Steve is on Untapped at Beer O'Clock Show Steve, and I'm there at Roku, and I'm on Twitter at Roku Beer. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, so if you use either of those services, please drop us a review, give us a rating, give us a little thumbs up, because it really does help, and we appreciate your support. Now, Steve, what's coming up next week, mate?
Next week we are going back to Italy again, and we are doing another Balladin beer, and this one is called Nazionale, which is the first Italian craft beer to be brewed with 100% Italian ingredients.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting.
And it's going to be interesting, and it could be a long show. It's a 750 ml bottle.
Christ.
So it's the first of the big bottle that the guys from Beers from Italy have sent us. And I am very much looking forward to diving into it head first.
Indeedy. The Beer O'Clock Show is proud to be supported by Ales by Mail, your premier destination for bottled real ales delivered directly to your door. Visit alesbymail.co.uk and use the code BOCS10 for a 10% discount. And their new website looks great. You can go in there, you can get onto the pick and mix page and just start putting a box together. It's great.
And soon to be full of audio reviews by us.
Yes. We've got one up there so far, but just keep checking yeah, we're going to be taking over the world. That's all. That's all. That's our game plan. That's it.
Eventually, yeah.
Stay tuned around after the tinkly music for the interview with Matt Williams from Bear Hug Brewing. But until next week, mate, thank you very much.
Mate, it's been the highlight of my week.
Mine too, the second highlight.
Yeah, second highlight of my week, this one.
A great way to end the week. All right, see you guys later.
Yes.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
It's Beer O'Clock and welcome to another episode of Behind the Beer. This week I've got with me Matt Williams, one of the founders of Bear Hug Brewing. How are you doing, Matt?
Very good, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, good to be here.
This week on the show we've been reviewing the Hibernation IPA.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that beer.
Well, the white IPA is our first brew. We brewed it, our very first brew, back in February. We launched at Craft Beer Rising, and we wanted to kind of come up with a beer that was different to a lot of the stuff that was around at the time. Something that would showcase Henry's skills as a brewer, and something that hopefully appealed right across the board, really, from people that are maybe just getting into craft to those people that are very much into their beers. And as a product, it's a hybrid beer, so it's kind of a cross between a wheat beer and an IPA. And it was something that we just thought was very different and would kind of set the benchmark for what we were all about.
Okay, so what was the inspiration between going for the hybrid beer?
To be completely honest, Henry read about it in a book and was like, "Oh yeah, I could do that."
Okay, fair enough.
And off we went. But no, it's an American style beer, but not one that's really that common over here, and something that's got a lot of flavour to it, but it's quite accessible. It's not too in your face, and really, as a new sort of brewery brand, we wanted something that would hopefully get people interested in us, something that people would enjoy, and I think we've done that. We've had really positive sort of feedback and comments about it, and it's a bit different in terms of, I guess, what Henry's done through the process. He's kind of substituted the normal strain of yeast that you would get in a wheat beer, so you don't get that sort of banana clove flavour. He's put an American yeast in, a US-05, which is neutral in flavour, and then he's dry hopped it at the end with a high quantity of Citra, and then he's got some Target and Chinook. So it's cloudy and full-bodied like a wheat beer, but it's got that IPA sort of flavour profile.
Okay. And what's with the name Hibernation IPA? Where did that come from?
The name Hibernation, our brewer came up with, and just thought it was kind of appropriate that we were coming sort of out of winter, and obviously beers coming out of hibernation, and us kind of coming out to put ourselves out there as a beer and as a brand, and we just thought it was something that just kind of worked, really. Yeah.
And what do you think this beer says about Bear Hug Brewing?
I think it's very much about what we're trying to do as a company, and that's very much trying to really help push the craft category forward. I think at the moment, it's only a real small percentage of the beer sales in the UK, and we've all kind of come from a drinks background, are very passionate about beer and building brands and whatnot. So it was something really that I think appeals to a wide demographic of consumers, and I think if the craft category is going to go forward, there's got to be beers that I guess are enjoyed by everyone. So giving it to my mum, and she's 78, and she gave it the nod of approval and doesn't drink beer, and to be honest, I didn't drink craft beer a year and a half ago, so I'm kind of target market, and I think it's a really good beer. I'm probably slightly biased.
Yeah, just ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly. But yeah, it was about making a beer that was really good quality with the best ingredients that we could get, that would appeal to a wide cross section of consumers.
Okay, so Bear Hug Brewing, you're less than a year old. Give us the story of where you've come through from to now.
Yeah, sure. I guess it all really sort of came about probably about 4 years ago. My business partner, Dan, was sat next to a guy at a wedding, and they got chatting. And Henry, as it was just about to go off to Heriot Watt, the School of Brewing up in Scotland. And Dan was like, "Oh, I've just bought a pub," and they kind of got chatting, and Henry'd always wanted to own his own sort of brewery or micro pub. They kept in touch. About 2 Christmases ago, Henry sent Dan some of his home brews, and Dan picked up the phone and was like, "Look, I've just had some of Henry's beers," and he was like, "They're really good." And it kind of went on the back burner for a little while, and then I needed to get out of the job that I'd been doing, been there for sort of six or 7 years, and I'd had enough of kind of building other people's brands for them. And Dan and our other business partner Chris, they run Craft Beer Rising, so at the Truman Brewery, and this was about sort of May, June time, and we were like, look, if we're going to do this, we should really aim to kind of have a beer and effectively have something ready for Craft Beer Rising next February. But it took us until the October to really kind of pull our fingers out, and actually there was a lot of research that went into it in terms of how much funding we would need, trying to find locations for a brewery and all that sort of stuff. But I guess basically between October and February of last year, we kind of came up with the whole brand and the business strategy and everything that we're going to be doing sort of moving forward.
So what's in the name Bear Hug? Where did that come from?
Again, it's very much a sort of personal thing. Dan and I greet with sort of hugs rather than handshakes. We've been mates for sort of 11, 12 years now, and there's also, I guess, kind of like the element of it's that hug that you get from your first beer after work on a Friday night, that fourth beer in the pub, that beer buzz.
Yeah.
And we've just likened it to a hug. And again, I think it's a name that hopefully is quite endearing. People tend to have a little smile when you tell them what it is that you do and the name of your brand and stuff like that. And again, it was important for us to have something that appealed to a wide sort of demographic, and that we weren't sort of tied geographically by our name and stuff like that. And we went through a whole sort of branding process and spoke to agencies and all that, but in the end it was our own sort of ideas and desires that it came from. Yeah. And
so we've featured the Hibernation White IPA on this week's show. That's not the only beer you do. You've got a couple of others in your range, haven't you?
Yeah. So we've got the Spirit Pale Ale. That was the second beer that we did. So we put that's just gone into bottles about 4 weeks ago. And then we literally yesterday took delivery on our craft lager. So we've got a Pilsner lager called Bruno. And then we are probably looking at doing either a rye red ale or a black IPA sort of in the run up to Christmas. Yeah.
And you're, get a term right here, you're hobo brewers.
We're hobo brewers, yeah. For the term hobo to cuckoo and contract and all of that. Yeah. Again, we spent 5-6 months trying to find a premise. I mean, we're all based in London, apart from Chris, he's in Bristol. And it was just nigh on impossible. Certainly to do it not within the sort of time frame that we had. We didn't want to miss another summer and whatnot. So we spent 5 months looking. Couldn't find. Saw a couple of premises, and then they didn't have the right license, or it wouldn't have happened. In the end, we spoke to our accountants, and they're very experienced specifically within the brewing industry, and they're like, what are you doing? Who set up a brewery? You know how to make beer, you know how to market it, you know how to sell it, you can deal with the logistics. who set up a brewery before, and we were like, yeah, okay, fair play. And they're like, you know, keep a hold of 100% of your business, invest your money into actually going out and building a brand. And they said, contract brewing, is a model that works, and Innocent Gun, have turned over 11-12 million pounds a year, and have never owned their own brewery, and it's something that in hindsight was probably the best decision that we made, certainly from a financial point of view, just in not having those sort of overheads on board, especially when you're new and starting up a business.
Yeah.
So we're hobo brewers for the time being, but we will have our own brewery.
Okay. And you've got this initiative that runs alongside your beers called My Green Squares.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
My Green Squares is it's a social conscience initiative, and again, as part of us wanting to try and do something a little bit different and do something that hadn't been done before. We wanted to try and look into different means or ways of being able to kind of give something back in some sort of form, but also a way that would hopefully allow us to engage with consumers, because again, if you go back to our core sort of business principles of really wanting to try and push craft beer forward and bring new consumers in, we wanted to try and find a way to engage with consumers and almost as well as hopefully providing them with a great beer, give them another reason to drink our beers. And one of Dan's best friends, his father was involved in setting up My Green Squares, and to break it down, it basically means that every beer that we sell helps preserve an area of rainforest for 12 months.
Okay.
So we've basically purchased 1 million square foot of rainforest. It was a commitment that we made from day one. Mm-hmm. My Green Squares is an initiative that's going to be running on a much bigger scale. They'll be working with people like Waitrose, the FA, local schools, and on our bottles we have a unique sort of URL code. So if people want to put that in, it takes them to the My Green Squares website. It actually sets them up with a My Green Squares account. Mm-hmm. We donate them 5 Green Squares, and then you can actually zoom right into sort of canopy level and see the area of rainforest that you've helped preserve. It shows where there's regeneration going on. It helps towards educating the sort of indigenous people on sort of different ways of farming their land and preserving it, down to sort of schools initiatives and things like that. So it hopefully it's something that people buy into. At the end of the day, the majority of people probably won't, but we're trying to do something a little bit different, and we've already made that commitment. But if somebody wants to stock our beers on draft, then we would give them the square footage of their pub in My Green Squares. And then try and engage with their customer base, through social media, point of sale, just to try and get the message across. And if people then have this My Green Squares account set up and they buy a salad from a supermarket that's got a little code on it, they can go onto their My Green Squares, put that code in from the product they've bought, and then they can actually see their own area starting to grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the bottles, for every bottle you buy, you get 1 square.
I mean, it's very difficult to kind of categorise it. We can't put individual codes on there. So what we're doing basically is trying to help people get involved with My Green Squares. We set them up. We give them 5 squares to start. But it's the equivalent, effectively, of 1 square foot of rainforest, for every pint, pretty much, that we sell.
Okay, so not only are you getting great beer, you're getting a little bit of rainforest.
Yeah, drink beer, save trees.
Excellent, brilliant. What's next for Bear Hug? What have you got coming up in your future?
Well, we've just opened a pop-up bar in Stoke Newington. I guess one of the things about kind of being hobo brewers is that you don't have your own base, your own premise, your own home, if you like. So we wanted to have somewhere where people could come and drink our beers, find out a little bit more about us. We're working with a guy called the Burger Bear. Make some of the best burgers in London, so we're going to be serving burgers. We'll have 3 of our beers on at any one time, and then 1 guest line, and then some craft cider. So that's kind of imminent. That's all happened sort of the last couple of months. And then we've got probably another couple of brews coming through before Christmas, sort of the rye red ale or the black IPA. We've just launched up in Scotland with Craft Beer Rising Glasgow, so we're doing some work up there with some of the sort of independent pub operators up there and sort of one or two wholesalers. Again, just really trying to get the brand out there, and we're still fresh and new, so we don't have a huge amount of consistent distribution. So I think it's very much, get the Hibernation out there, get it into people's hands, and then really look to try and work with some sort of key outlets that like our beers and want to support us, so as we can try and get that holy grail of the craft beer scene, which is getting your beers on tap permanently.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of particularly the Hibernation, is that available for our listeners to buy online anywhere?
Yeah, you can buy it through Beer Merchants. They have it online. If you're in London, places like Clapton Craft, City Beverage, you will be able to buy it through our website, beerhagbrewing.com, fairly soon. And then I'm Beer 52, based up in Scotland, and some other guys that have got it online. But we will get some more online retailers soon. Hopefully, yeah. So there'll be a focus.
Widely available-ish.
Yeah,
at the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, you can always get in touch with us, and if you're in a certain area and you can't get hold of it, then we can always try and point you in the right direction.
Okay, great stuff. So people want to get involved, follow you on Twitter.
Yeah.
Where do they find you?
Twitter's at Beer Hug Brew Co, and our Facebook is Beer Hug Brewing. And through our website, and hopefully just keep an eye on us. We've got a really good team. We've got a great brewer, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more good things coming in the future and next year, really.
Okay, well, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, Matt.
No worries.
Appreciate it. Thank you for supplying the beers on this evening show.
No problem.
And good luck with everything you do.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.